course, if you believe that consciousness is dependent on the body, well, I suggest you go back to the beginning of the Yoga Vasistha and start again. This is one of the notions which is quite strong in modern culture, modern Western culture, that consciousness depends on the body. But it's clearly the other way round. We cannot even acknowledge the existence of the body without consciousness. We can have this story, of course. We've got the story of evolution. Along with the story of evolution, we've got the development of consciousness. And why not? That's a useful way of thinking. If we're operating in scientific mode, then fine, we'll go along with that story. But we must realize it is a story. It's not what pertains to our immediate reality. And we must be careful with stories that actually detract from our reality. And all these stories are based on provisional discriminations. They're very powerful discriminations. Discriminations between what is real and what is not real, between what exists and what doesn't exist, between real and imaginary, between truth and falsehood, between living and non-living, between immortal and transient. We need to look to our own experience in the light of our own experience. We need to look to our own awareness in the light of that awareness and be honest about what you find there. And you find imperishable awareness. Consciousness alone entertains the twin notions, I am alive and I am dead. So this story of consciousness being dependent on the body is also a story. It's a notion entertained by consciousness. Consciousness sees or becomes aware of samsara. That's the appearance of a world, the apparent external world, and consciousness becomes aware of liberation. This is a dynamic of enlightenment practice, of spiritual practice once again. We can move between these two. But eventually, the realization of Brahman becomes less subtle and becomes more and more apparent. Consciousness, becomes aware of pleasure and pain without abandoning its true nature. In a state of self-ignorance, it gets involved in delusion. In a state of self-knowledge, it frees itself from delusion. But consciousness itself never rises and it never sets. There is no such thing as reality, and there is nothing called ignorance or falsehood. Whatever is conceived of by one, that exists in that manner. So this is consciousness doing its thing. We have our notions. We have our notions which we adhere to strongly. These notions are basically discriminations. And what I ask you to do is to look at that feeling that you've got inside you, that you're not going to die, and that you are therefore immortal. Don't dismiss that feeling. By all means, examine all the stories which you throw in the way of acknowledging that feeling. You have to be quite bold about this, because our whole cultural prejudice goes against acknowledging this feeling. And even if we do acknowledge it, we dismiss it. We dismiss it, don't we? And we come up with some quite good arguments, don't we? But all these arguments are based on notions. Notions of other people. Notions of the past, of what happened before. So you need to be aware of these notions and how they detract from this feeling. Home in on this feeling. Don't be stupid about it, though. Don't allow it to fuel any notions about you as an individual personality being immortal or indestructible. Because your personality, your ego, your body, they're changing all the time. I'm just trying to shine a little light to give you a clue to what to look at in your inquiry. You have this knowledge already, this knowledge of the nature of awareness. This knowledge is not a conceptual knowledge. It's your reality. It's your existential reality. Tune into it. Inquire into it. This is awareness. There isn't anything else.